on CBS 2. Sponsored by Morongo Casino Resort and Spa.
And hello again, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Sports Central Saturday. I'm Jim Hill, joined by ESPN's Alan Slee, one, of course, former USC running back and now the head football coach at Dorsey High School, Coach Stafon Johnson. We're going to get to them in just a couple of moments. But right now, my friends, here is a look at the game you just saw right here on CBS 2. It was Penn State cruising onto a 41-12 victory over Auburn. The Nittany Lions forced 4 turnovers, including 2 fumble recoveries and a pair of interceptions. Penn State also had the ground game going, that's for sure, with nearly 250 yards on the ground in rushing. That's absolutely incredible. And gentlemen, when we think about what happened, this is absolutely incredible. Stefan, let's talk just a little bit about how surprised you are at what we just saw.
I was very surprised. I think Sean Clifford did a great job of calling the game and managing the game, and I'm reluctant to see what he's going to do throughout the season.
And how about you? Because we were sitting here and we said, okay, but on that many points?
It's a great statement. It really is. Great statement by Penn State. Now, we know they're eventually going to have, you're going to face Ohio State, you're going to face Michigan, but to walk into an SEC school and lay that type of a game, 41-12, incredibly impressive by Penn State.
But 41 points. 41. Okay, we can see them getting a win, but 41?
Sure. Dominated. I mean, absolute domination. This is different. You know, Penn State, their wins so far this year, Purdue in the Big Ten. Auburn had 2 wins, Mercer and San Jose State. They faced the real team this Saturday afternoon, and Penn State just showed they're the better team.
What surprised you the most?
They imposed their will on the ground. You know, I think that's the identity of Penn State. That's always have been their identity, and I think they did a great job of sticking to that. You know, like I said, I think Sean Clifford did a great job of being able to pound them, and Auburn couldn't take that. You know, especially going into a big environment like Auburn and playing on the road. I remember sometimes when we played on the road and using the run game to solidify the crowd because it's so loud, to be able to get those victories is much, much needed.
41-12. You just saw it right here on CBS 2. All right, everybody, what do you say we go to the Rose Bowl, where UCLA looks to stay unbeaten, hosting Southern Alabama. The Bruins are looking for their first 6-game win streak since 2014 after leaving early in their game against Alabama State. Here's we're talking about the quarterback Doran Thompson-Robinson was good to go against the Jaguars. Here we go. The Bruins trying to improve to 3-0 for the first time under head coach Chip Kelly. UCLA trailing 10-6 in the second quarter, and Doran Thompson-Robinson hits Zach Charbonnet, and he appears to score, but after a review, he was down at the 1-yard line. That's amazing. And they would try to punch it in, but Charbonnet just couldn't hold on to it after the handoff. South Alabama recovers the fumble and takes over on downs. What a turn of events, Stefan.
Yes, there's a lot of missed opportunities right there for UCLA. They can cost you the football game. Hopefully they were able to recover off of that, but definitely a missed opportunity.
Jaguars make the most of the turnover. LaDamian Weber right here gets it to the end zone for a 9-yard run, capping off an 80-yard drive to extend the lead to 17-6. But UCLA would respond, working in the red zone. Thompson-Robinson finds Jake Bobo for the touchdown. The Bruins trail 17-13 at halftime. UCLA starting to wake up in the second quarter. Thompson-Robinson delivers to Cam Brown, and he makes his way past the goal line. UCLA takes the lead at 20-17. South Alabama retook the lead, so now it's 24-23. Now look at this. The Bruins can't control the pitch, and the loose ball rolls back to the 6-yard line where the Jaguars recovered. Alan?
Just fall on it. Find a way to fall on it. Obviously, UCLA missed opportunity there. And the ball just starts kicking around. Every time we see this every once in a while in college football, the NFL, they always say try to fall on it. Everybody's trying to rescue the team here.
Making those funny bounces, that is for sure. UCLA down 31-23 now in the fourth quarter, coming for it and going for it on fourth down. Thompson-Robinson is able to get it to Logan Loya for the touchdown to bring them to within 2. Stefan?
They really needed that at that time. You know, DTR did a great job of putting that on their money, and they needed that right there.
Okay, now we talk about the special teams unit is staying on the sideline while they go for 2. Thompson-Robinson tries to run it in, but gets stopped short as they trail now 31-29. Interesting call here. South Alabama in field goal formation, but they choose to go for it on fourth down. Tanner McGee gets sacked by Carl Jones Jr., and UCLA has time to drive down the field. Under 3 minutes to go now on the clock. Check out this throw from Thompson-Robinson that would get the Bruins across the 50-yard line, landing them at the 38-yard line into field goal range. And it all comes down to, for the Bruins, to kicker Nicholas Barmiera. With 3 seconds left on the clock from 24 yards out, He puts it through the uprights as time expires. UCLA wins a thriller, 32-31.
I think just sticking with the plan, sticking with each other, knowing the group of guys we got in the huddle and the talent that we have. It's just, about staying within the system and making sure we're not trying to play hero ball out there all the time and try and do too much.
We talk all the time that, three things happen in a football game. Momentum swings, random events, and adversity. And the key is if you're a competitor, you respond when that happens. Non-competitors react. And I think our guys responded in a good manner today. We obviously found ourselves in a hole, but it wasn't, I think our sideline was, our guys believed every single time that we were going to win the football game. We just got to keep plugging away and just keep playing. So I think that's a sign of a little bit of maturity, when you have an older team.
Absolutely incredible. Stafon, UCLA survives thanks to a 10-play drive ending in a field goal as time expired.
Yeah, they really needed this win right here. I think that you can tell that they're still in their early stages of the season. They have a lot of miscues as far as quarterback and running back exchanges and things of that nature. But they were able to settle down, and South Alabama definitely gave them an early Christmas gift.
Mm-hmm. But what a boost of confidence it gives UCLA to be able to come through with these kinds of miscues that they had.
This, like I said, this definitely gives you the confidence to know that you can go through these different adversities during the football season, the football game, and come out with a W. That's definitely huge.
All right, Alan, what about South Alabama's decision not to kick the field goal with under 3 minutes to go?
Jim, what happened there?
That's what we're all saying. We're scratching our heads about that.
We're all in the studio saying, okay, they're going to kick a field. I think they had the ball at the 40-yard line, so you just assumed that was going to happen. I don't understand it. I really do think, I think Stafon used the word a couple of times. They did get lucky. This is, you take advantage of that opportunity, and they did, but explain to me this play. Got a chance to cook a field goal. You don't do it. And then even to go for it on fourth down, why are you spending 7 seconds showing UCLA what you're going to do in that position? They didn't fool anybody in that play.
Yeah, but when you talk about luck counts, doesn't it?
It does count. It does count. And as a coach, sometimes you have to make these type of decisions, and then he could look like the genius if they would have went for the block and they was able to get that off, and now you look at a different subject.
And Stafon, what about this? Plenty of missed opportunities for UCLA that made this one maybe even a little bit closer than it should have been.
Absolutely. I think South Alabama had a great game plan coming in, and like I said, a lot of miscues, a lot of things that didn't go their way. Something like that, missed opportunity can be on the 1 yard line, difference between a touchdown, fumbles, balls going all over the place. Different things can happen, and like I said, South Alabama definitely gave them an early Christmas gift.
And Alan, you have to win these kinds of games in order to have a successful season.
So in the standings, it's not going to say they only won by 1, right?
Yeah,
or that was a bad call by South Alabama. You're right. You do got to get these, put it in the bag. You're 3-0. See what you do from there.
Of course, they're smiling for sure over in Bruin land, that's for sure. All right, everybody, we've got tons of more college football action for you ahead on this edition of Sports Central Saturday. Coming up next, we're going to check in on tonight's matchup at the Coliseum as the 7th-ranked USC Trojans look to stay unbeaten under head coach Lincoln Riley as they host Fresno State, and a couple other top 10 teams in action as both Oklahoma and Georgia run up the score in their rivalry matchups. Also, the reigning CIF Division II champs are in the house. Orange Lutheran big winners last night against Notre Dame. They'll join us live in studio to talk about that victory and the possibility of going back-to-back when we come back right here on CBS 2.
Sports Central is sponsored by Morongo Casino Resort and Spa. Good time.
Welcome back, everybody. Notre Dame still looking for their first win of the year, hosting 2-0 Cal with the green jerseys on today. Second quarter, Notre Dame trailing 7-0. Drew Pine completes it to Chris Tyree over the middle, 21-yard touchdown. Notre Dame ties it at 7. Now to the fourth quarter we go. Game is still tied at 7. Pine finds his star tight end in Michael Mayer, and for the go-ahead score, the Fighting Irish up 24-17. Game on the line now. Cal at the Notre Dame 35-yard line. Jake Plummer buys some time, lofts it up. The ball gets tipped, but Jeremiah Hunter can't come away with it. Alan, how about that last chance to tip right there?
What a play by Jake Plummer. Just to even put it in the end zone, give his guys a chance. Obviously, Notre Dame with a stop there, but what an incredible play.
It certainly was. Meanwhile, Notre Dame gets its first win of the season as they beat Cal by a score of 24-17. Okay, now to what could be used. We used to talk about this as one of the biggest rivalries in all of college football. Oklahoma going against Nebraska. The 6th-ranked Sooners are off to a 2-0 start in their first year under new head coach Brent Venables. But It's a different story for the Cornhuskers, who are playing in their first game since losing Clay Helton to Clay Helton's Georgia Southern team and firing their head coach in Scott Frost. Former Nebraska quarterback and Mickey Joseph takes over as interim head coach in the 88th Battle of the Reds right here. The Cornhuskers started quickly with a 32-yard pass from Trey Palmer to Casey Thompson for the touchdown. 7-0 Nebraska. Looking to answer now. 3rd and 7 for the Sooners. Quarterback Dylan Gabriel sees a hole and takes off. He gets the first down and more, Stafon.
Man, he looks good, man. I didn't know he had that in him. He looks great. He's throwing the ball and rushing the ball. He has a great day today.
He can stick his chest out about that, right?
He got some power in his shoes. That's how he made him better.
Early second quarter, Oklahoma up 21-7. Wide receiver with the pass here as Braden Willis finds Marcus Major, his second touchdown of the day. Sooners in control 28-7. Same score now with OU in the red zone. Eric Gray finishes the drive with a 16-yard touchdown run. Oklahoma cruises 49-14, improving to 3-0 on the season. Okay, after Alabama struggled against Texas, Georgia is the new #1 ranked team in the country, and they hit the road against South Carolina. Scoreless in the first on 1st and goal. Stetson Bennett hands it off to Brock Bowers, who rushed it in from 5 yards out. The Bulldogs on the board first, leading 7-0. Georgia never looked back. Now on top 24-0 in the third. Bennett finds Bowers again. Allen, same score.
They are the #1 team in the country. They played like it today, and I don't think there's any question what they are.
Yes. Same two, different score. Here we go with more. All right, let's go to the third quarter now, and the Bulldogs lead 38-0. Bennett connects with Oscar Delp, who will haul it in for the touchdown. Bennett with 284 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. Georgia wins big, 48-7. You want more? #4, Michigan at home, taking on the UConn Huskies, and the Wolverines are wasting no time. Blake Karam takes the handoff and gets it all the way to the pylon for the score to cap off a 72-yard drive. Michigan goes up 7-0 in the first quarter, and the lead is 24-0 now in the second quarter, but the bleeding hasn't stopped just yet. A.J. Henning fields the punt and sheds 3 tackles before taking it 61 yards to the house for the score to put Michigan on top by a score. Stafon, 31-0.
Special teams, wins and lose games. Great punt return right here. Was able to get around and break a few tackles. Great blocking up the field. And way to put some paint on your shoes, young returner.
You better believe it. Okay, Michigan wins this one big, 59-0 behind 5 touchdowns from Corum. It's the first time since 1903 scoring at least 50 points in 3 straight games. All right, Stafon, this is another one to talk about because Georgia was dominant. Yet again, is there any doubt at this point that the champs are worthy of the #1 ranking in the country?
I think it's a clear cut. I think that you have guaranteed quarterback play. You have possibly the best tight end in the country with Bowers in there. So I think that definitely puts them in the category of the best. You know, we have a reloaded defense. Definitely clear cut.
And of course, when we think about what we just saw with this team, that gives, you talk about confidence. This is nothing but a confidence builder for them.
Oh, no question about it. Especially, last week you saw Alabama just squeezing by Texas. It did open the door for them to be the #1 team in the country, and they play like it. Sometimes it shows a 1. Okay, but are they really the #1? There's no question in this regard.
We're going to talk now about a team that before this season is over, they could be the #1 ranked team in the country. We're going to talk about the USC Trojans because tonight at the Coliseum, they are on the 7th-ranked USC Trojans host Fresno State Bulldogs. The men of Troy are coming off their first victory at Stanford since 2014, winning 41-28. But the Trojans will have to be ready for the Bulldogs, who were seconds away from beating Oregon State last week. 2 games into the reign at SC, head coach Lincoln Riley talked about what he's most proud of from his team.
Big thing I would just continue to say that the culture, the buy-in, the attitude has been what I hoped it would be, and probably up to this point I would be lying if I said that it hadn't maybe exceeded my expectations a little bit. That part of it, we're 2 games in, we got a long way to go, but that part of anything up to this point that I'm the most proud of, it's by far, it's that.
And when you think about it, Caleb Williams has just been phenomenal for the Trojans. He's one of only 5 quarterbacks in the FBS with at least 6 touchdown passes and no interceptions. That's remarkable. Williams ranked 2nd in the country in completion percentage and quarterback ranking. And according to the BetMGM, he is now the 2nd highest odds to win the Heisman Trophy behind Ohio State's C.J. Stroud. Stafon, that's a lot to say about this young man, isn't it?
Yeah, I love him. I mean, of course, I'm a little bit biased because he wear the H tray, he wear that 13, man. So I can wear my jersey loud and proud, especially tonight playing against a team that is very hard-nosed, have been definitely giving us a hard time later on. The last time I've been to this game was when Reggie Bush was running around there. So probably one of the dividing points of me going to SC. So I'm very excited. You know, I'm really excited for Caleb this year, man. He looks great. But we'll see how he do throughout the season.
And of course, you know, with his fundamentals and with the right coaching, it seems like he's getting better and better every week.
I definitely agree. I think that him and coaches doing some great things together. They're clicking on all cylinders, and they're making sure that they're getting their name put out there. You know, I think eventually they can be up in the top 4 playoff ranks.
Yeah, you talk about it, but Alan, how about this? USC isn't likely to force 4 turnovers every single game. But beyond that, what do you look for in their defense improving?
Well, they're 106th right now in the nation in run defense. I think that's their one vulnerability. And here's the reality of it. I love what they're doing on offense. Obviously, they're able to put up points with anybody in the nation. Got to get stops. And the matchups are going to get tougher. Last week, I thought against Stanford, they did. They pulled up some great turnovers inside the red zone. What happens when teams don't make those mistakes? Just want to see them from a defensive perspective be able to lean on it more. You don't want just to win games because of your offense.
Because you can't depend on the other team making mistakes all the time. You have to force your will on them.
Give them credit for the turnovers. No, I don't want to take that away, but at the same time, teams are still moving the ball on them. Fresno State is one of the better teams on offense as well, as far as in the country. Are they going to rely just on their offense to win this game, or are they going to get key stops that you sit back and you say, you know what, their defense had a big part to do with it?
Stefan, when we think about it, this Fresno State team is no stranger to playing top-ranked teams, so they know exactly what can be done and what they should do in order to pull off an upset.
Absolutely. I think they won a big game last year. I think they almost got close to winning a big game this year as well. So I think Fresno State is definitely not coming in to play. I think they definitely feel as if they have a chance to win the football game. Their offense is doing pretty well as well. And I like the fact that they really will hit you in the mouth and be willing to try to stand there and fight. So it'll be an interesting game tonight, and I'm really ready to see
what's the best thing that Fresno State does, in your opinion?
I think just being able to run the rock. I think just being able to, like I said, oppose your will on the run game. Of course, I'm really adamant thing about that. I really love that fact of it, and that's always been that way. Even when they came out a few years ago, a lot of years ago, when they was able to run the ball a lot, and it was a shootout, you know, with Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart and company. So I'm really, like I said, this is going to be a pretty good game for us, especially at the house. Get some home cooked meal and just see how it goes.
See, he knows exactly what he's talking about. All right, everybody, they know what they're talking about. Okay, still to come. Could this be a big bounce-back week for the Rams? Our analysts chime in on their chances against a very sneaky Atlanta Falcons team when we come back. Plus, Justin Herbert gets hurt as the Chargers go down the wire in AFC rivals going against the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll talk about what's next for him and the Chargers. And we're going to sit down with the Dodgers, Joe Davis.
Yeah, it's a reminder every day how lucky I am. And I do remind myself every day I shouldn't need, and nor do I need this backdrop to remind me, but it's a constant reminder that I've got it as good as anybody.
The Dodgers play-by-play announcer talks about taking over for Vin Scully and the opportunity to call the World Series. That's next when we come back right here on CBS 2.
Play of the Day, sponsored by Morongo Casino Resort and Spa.
Play fake. O'Connell looking downfield and throw the pick six. Caleb Okechukwu.
Games are going to be close in the NFL. 67% of all games come down to a 2-minute drill.
All right, here we go, 2 minutes.
So, we think of all the different situations that an offense or a defense faces during a season.
1:33 left, down by 6.
And put those guys in the situation as realistically as we can.
Like, hey, red zone, here we go.
You practice the way you play, and so we go out to practice, and you better be sharp.
What's up?
One good day means nothing.
Good drive, 10.
Yes! Stacking good days on top of each other turns you into a team.
35, here we go.
12. 14 seconds.
Take it back.
What's that, Phil? What's up?
All right, my friends, that was just a taste, a small taste of the latest episode of Chargers HQ. You can see the whole thing right here on CBS 2 coming up this evening at 6:30. Meanwhile, after opening the season with a win over the Raiders, the Chargers came up short in Kansas City on Thursday night, losing to the Chiefs by a score of 27-24. The Chargers gave up 20 unanswered points, including this 99-yard pick six by the rookie and Jalen Watson that gave Kansas City control of the game. Justin Herbert took a late hit in the contest and is day-to-day with a rib cartilage fracture. He stayed in the game to try and lead a comeback by the Chargers, but ultimately the Chargers fell short, and now the question is about Herbert's health.
As you guys saw, he's as tough as they get and showed a lot of fight, and really proud of him, how he battled and gave us a real chance in that game at the end. It's football, it's football, and you're going to have some moments that it's, where you're feeling like that. And that's not just exclusive to the quarterback position. And yeah, I'm out there. I mean, there's nobody that cares about Justin more than I do, more than we do. And, that's part of the game. It's a tough game. And as long as he feels like he can go in that moment, then that's what we're going to roll with.
Alan, what a gutsy performance by Herbert, staying in the game and trying to will his team to a victory.
Still drove that. That drive was 76 yards, got the touchdown, gave him a chance for the onside. Obviously, they didn't get the onside. They lose by 3. Incredibly gutsy. You could tell he was feeling that pain. They had a 3rd and 1. He could have ran for the first down. Couldn't run, so just threw the ball into the ground. He converted on 4th down. It's impressive what he does. Listed as day-to-day. He's the franchise, Jim, so you got to be extra cautious with him. You don't have a healthy Justin Herbert. You don't have anything this year. We'll see how things pan out.
And Stafon, let's just assume, just for a second, that he does not play against the Jaguars next Sunday. Let's just talk about what the team will have to overcome and what their backup quarterback and Chase Daniel will have to do.
I don't want to keep saying the same thing, but they definitely got to lean on the running game. I definitely have to use the running backs out the backfield and just give him Chase Daniel Chase Daniel. Not so much pressure on them, just trying to alleviate that pressure and be able to hand the ball off and throw the ball out the backfield to their running backs would definitely be a good thing.
And this is where everybody has to do just a little bit more. Wouldn't you agree? You've been in that spot.
Absolutely, absolutely. The coaching staff have to do a lot more adjustments, and a lot of people have to be able to learn on the fly and understand that they're playing with their backup this week.
They are a good team. They may miss a very important part of their piece of their puzzle, but we'll just have to wait and see. All right, everybody. Last Thursday, the Rams suffered the second worst loss ever by a defending Super Bowl champion in their season opener, losing to the Bills 31-10. Tomorrow, they look to bounce back against the Atlanta Falcons. Now, no reigning champion has started 0-2 since the Broncos in 1999, the year following John Elway's retirement. The Rams are under the 500 mark for the first time under head coach Sean McVay, but they enter the game as double-digit favorites, and McVay has confidence that the champions will bounce back tomorrow.
Football, you're inevitably going to go through adversity. And a lot of the guys that have been on this team, even just going back to last year, I think we all know if we were all sitting here in the month of November, what that felt like in the moment. You're like, man, does this ever feel like you're going to find your way out of it? But when you got the right kinds of people, you give yourself a chance to come out swinging. That's exactly what we have on this group, but not minimizing what a great challenge it's going to be against the Falcons. And so we're looking forward to shooting our shot, playing to the best of our ability, and they put themselves in a position to be able to do that, and that's what I was looking for this week.
And, Alan, all eyes are going to be on Matthew Stafford after what happened that was so disappointing against the Bills. What can we look forward to him to at least try to do now?
Well, I think, look, he had some mistakes. He threw 3 interceptions. Some of those are on him. It's the offensive line I'm most concerned about. They gave up 7 sacks. And I think, Jim, in any game in the NFL, if your quarterback doesn't have time, I don't care who you have. It's Cooper Kupp, all these Allen Robinson. You got to give the man time. And I think for Matt Stafford, the guy's a vet, won a Super Bowl. He'll be fine, but give the man some time to make some of those decisions.
Here's the other thing. The Rams defense gave up over 400 yards in week number 1. I mean, there's a lot that they can improve on every area there.
I believe so. I think that if you're going to have these different mistakes that you're going on through the season, it will happen early. You know, like Coach said, you got to go through these different adversities. If you're going to go through that early, learn from those mistakes, and understand that the Bills are a great football team as well. I think they won the last week as well. So I think just being able to use that to their advantage, learn from those mistakes, move forward, and get better throughout the season.
And they have the right culture. You know, we were talking. I'd like for you to talk about what culture means. You hear it so often.
You have to buy in. I think that McVay has done a great job of opening up the culture, having a different culture than has been before, and now it's a winning culture. So everybody is used to winning. So when we have that loss, it becomes a bad taste in their mouth. So I think that going back into practice, going back to the basics, and like I said, go through these adversities early so that now you can learn from those things and move forward.
And we will soon find out. That is for sure. But my friends, how about this? We do not want you to miss an NFL doubleheader tomorrow right here on CBS 2. It all starts at 10 o'clock in the morning with the Patriots heading to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. Then at about 1:25, Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals take on those Dallas Cowboys. Sports Central, of course, follows the game as Stuart Cravens joins myself and Alan right here in studio, right here on CBS 2. All right, everybody, stay right where you are, because coming up, we're going to head back to Auburn to see how they have fared against the Penn State Nittany Lions today. And coming off their win last night, Orange Lutheran coach Rod Sherman and senior left tackle Nate Hale join us live in studio when we come back right here on CBS 2.
Charged Up, sponsored by Action Ion Charged Alkaline Water.
All right, what do you say we take you to the Battle of the Bone, the Battle for the Bone, I should say, rivalry, as Chino Hills hosted Ayala last night. The Huskies going for 2 and the upset, but a charged-up Bulldogs defense has stopped them as Ayala wins their fifth consecutive year, 20-19, and moves to perfect 5-0 on the season. Also last evening, Orange Lutheran knocked off Notre Dame 37-14, and with the win, they improved to 4-1 on the season. Quarterback T.J. Lateef had 4 touchdown passes and nearly 400 passing yards without an interception. 116 of those yards went to his receiver, and Jackson Wang, who also hauled in a touchdown. And here's something that's really, really special. Joining us right now in our studio is Orange Lutheran head coach Rod Sherman and senior left tackle Nate Hale. And Coach, first of all, thank you so much for being here with us this afternoon. It's really amazing, and we appreciate you taking the time. Your Lancers won the CIF Division II title for the first in your first year. I'd like for you to talk about winning the title in your very first outing.
It was pretty incredible to come out, and I'm an alum of Orange Lutheran, and have been so honored to be able to be a student there and to come back as a coach. I was hired last May, and we got our staff together, so we got a little bit of a late start. But to have young men that bought into what we were doing, and you talked about culture earlier, and bought into the culture that we wanted to have of our core values, and starting with love, and develop the love together with the team, and to just be blessed as we went through the year to end up in a championship is a special time. But it's special because the young men that we were able to coach and be a part of it with.
And Coach, you know, now people are going to say, what are your chances of making it back to back?
For us, it's a journey, right? And you never know where your ending destination is going to be on that journey. What you want to do is grow and improve along the way. And just to be able to be better tomorrow than we are today, we think in our program that's true in our Christian faith. It's true if we model that as fathers and husbands. And can we just be in the journey and try to improve daily? And who knows where the journey will end up.
Talk about a journey, Nate. Let's first of all talk to you about that journey. And I know you're excited about the journey and what possibly can happen.
Yeah. Football's been a real journey. New coach, new system. They really bought into us and brought in a whole bunch of new people, Coach Corp, Coach Ward, who have been taking a really big impact on us and bought into us.
Mm-hmm. Now, Nate recently got his first Division I offer from Campbell University. Now, how did you feel, and what did you think of the idea of playing at the next level now?
Playing at the next level is a new idea to me. I didn't really know I wanted to play at the next level until the end of my junior year, and talked to Coach Ward about it. Did camps, kind of figuring it out. It's about pushing yourself and seeing how far you can take yourself.
Let's talk to Stafon, because you know, he was a great player. Now he's a high school coach, and I know you've got something to say.
I definitely do. I just have a real quick question. I want to know, how does it feel to, you say you want to bring up buying into the culture and understanding the different kids. How does it feel to have one of your former players and one of my former teammates, Aaron Corpletion, to be your offensive coordinator over there?
You know, it's pretty special. When I was at Orange Lutheran the first time, I was athletic director, offensive coordinator. Aaron has spent a lot of time at my house. He'd come over. We'd have quarterback dinners. My wife would cook for us, and we'd enjoy that time together. And when I got hired, to be able to make my first call to Aaron, who was coaching in college, and ask him if he wanted to come back. And now I get a chance to learn from him. He's learned and grown so much as a coach. I find myself being a student and trying to interject a few ideas offensively, but watching and learning him and seeing how he loves to coach young men. And he's been in our shoes as a student at Olu, and now he's coaching. It's a pretty cool opportunity for me.
And you learned something just then, didn't you?
I definitely did, because I remember Corp as a young pup when he was around, when I came around, and to hear him that, I seen a couple of plays, I'm like, man, I always look familiar a little bit. So, to hear that he's coaching and understanding that we have to be able to give back to the young, I remember I heard him say that, they was able to buy into what he ever believed in, and him being that middle bridge between, the older culture and the younger culture, and understanding y'all a little bit better. How do you feel about that as well?
I feel like there was a middle ground between the two, and they set a standard for us, and we had to continue to grow and push along with that.
Absolutely, man. That's sweet. That's sweet.
And congratulations again, buddy. Thank you so
Thanks,
much, Coach. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
being here. And what are you doing for our young people? And they're looking for you at the next level. You know that's coming, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's coming. You better believe it. All right, my friends, stay right where you are, because still to come, we're going to head back to the Rose Bowl for more on UCLA escaping with the win against South Alabama. And welcome back, everybody. The UCLA Bruins hung on to beat South Alabama 32-31. Thanks to a last-second field goal by Nicholas Bamira, UCLA goes undefeated into non-conference play for the first time under head coach Chip Kelly.
I mean, yeah, definitely. As a kid, as a kicker, you definitely think about those moments. You want those moments. Any kicker, they dream of having those moments. And in the moment, all I was focused on was making the kick. Treated it like any other kick.
All right, my friends, what do you say? Let's head back to Jordan-Hare Stadium for a really big SEC clash between 22nd ranked Penn State and Auburn. And here we go. And with Auburn looking to avenge last year's loss in Happy Valley, Penn State got off to a rough start. Sean Clifford right here with space tries to run through the gap, but here comes Owen Popo forcing Clifford to fumble the ball, and that's another big break. Auburn took a 3-0 lead, but the next possession for Penn on 2nd and goal, Clifford makes up for the fumble, takes it right up the gut for the touchdown. Penn State takes a 4-point lead at 7-3. Now up by 19 at 31-12 in the fourth. Penn State still rolling. Nicholas Singleton breaks through the huddle, weaves his way 50 yards downfield, all the way to the end zone for the score. Stafon, that's a thing of beauty right there.
Definitely so. Like I said, Penn State is known for their power offense, and he was able to get out and get some paint on his shoes, young fella, and have some fun out there.
Listen to Coach calling him young fella. Penn State goes on to defeat Auburn by a score of 41-12. Meanwhile, Bryce Young and number 2 ranked Alabama returned home hosting Louisiana Monroe. First quarter, Bama's up 7-0. Chandler Rogers pass bounces off the hands of his running back, and it's picked off by Will Anderson Jr., who takes it to the house. Alan?
Yeah, how about that? Beautiful play. Get it off the tip, take it to the house. Alabama trying to bounce back from last week.
Yeah, they need to win and win really big. And how about this move from a Young? Crimson Tide leading 21-0. Young with the 2 defenders on him, spins away, forces his way into the end zone, and Bama wins big, 63-7. What do you say we head to Oregon now, where the 25th ranked Ducks are actually a home favorite in the matchup against 12th ranked BYU, scoreless early first quarter. And Stafon, how about this play? 36-yard run.
Ooh, he looks good. He looks good. It's like he wasn't. Did he get in? Man, I want to see if he get in. That was a great run right there, man. That kid, make sure he's getting in.
Yeah, first and goal, senior quarterback Bo Nix really takes this one himself. 2-yard score, 7-0 Ducks. BYU down 10-0, looking for some offense. Isaac Rex finds Jaron Hall across the middle, 28-yard touchdown. Ducks lead at 10-7. Same score, second quarter. Nix drops back and airs his 50-yard drop shot right down to Troy Franklin. He makes the unbelievable grab. Oregon goes up 17-7. Second half, Oregon pounding away at it. Nix adds it with his 3rd rushing touchdown of the day, 5 on the day for total for Nix. Oregon wins it by a score of 41-20. All right, Stafon, after the Ducks started the year with a blowout loss to Georgia, this was huge. This was huge for them, wasn't it?
I think this is probably the first game Bo Nix was able to relax and just stop playing the hero ball and just be able to just strategically win the football game. You know, just being able to nickel and dime and use his offense, use his running backs, use different people to where they can be productive on offense rather than they did last week.
And Alan, I'm sure real quickly you were really impressed with what you saw.
Yeah, it was. You know, BYU won last week against Baylor. Baylor was ranked. For Oregon to come in and have this type of performance against BYU, it's a good win for them, good win for the Pac-12.
All right, everybody, what do you say we move on and switch sports right now? Let's talk about some soccer, because the pitch week on Angel City FC is preparing for a huge matchup tonight against the San Diego Wave in a game that will have the largest attendance in NWSL history. The top 6 teams advance to the playoffs, and with only 4 matches to play, Angel City is currently in the number 7 spot after losing to North Carolina Courage on Wednesday. It won't be easy playing against a solid San Diego Wave team in front of a sold-out crowd at newly opened stadium down there called Snapdragon.
It's a celebration of these 2 expansion teams who have created history, both with, you know, the records we're breaking, and also how well the teams have done, how many points as expansion teams that these 2 teams have had. These are firsts, so I think it'll be a celebration. We'll you know, blow these records out of the water, and it's going to be a dogfight.
Alan, I guess it goes without saying, this is going to be a wild atmosphere down in San Diego tonight.
This is amazing. It's great for the sport. 32,000 people selling it out. They played on July 9th. The Angels won 2-1. So it's not as if they're not accustomed to a big game like this, but this should be special. It really is. I drove up to San Diego this morning. I'm looking at the stadium. It's going to be a packed house.
We're going to have a lot of fun. And on Wednesday, how about this, my friends? You're going to like this. We will be live from Bank of California Stadium for a special Angel City FC pregame show as they take on the Washington Spirit. That's at 7 p.m. streaming on CBS News Los Angeles, which you can catch on your favorite streaming platform. Just look for the Pluto TV or CBS News app. All right, my friends, stay right where you are, because coming up, we're going to love this. Studs and duds, including possibly the worst possible place to fair catch a punt. Incredible what happened there. And you know him as the Dodgers play-by-play announcer, but Joe Davis will have a whole bunch more on his plate coming up this year, and we will talk to him as he shares a lot of that coming up right here on CBS 2 on this Saturday afternoon. It is called WOW, or Women of Wrestling, and it premieres tonight at 11 o'clock on KCAL9. WOW is a passion project for Lakers controlling owner Jeannie Buss, and I sat down with her ahead of tonight's premiere.
I knew that wrestling was something that fans have obviously embraced, and it's been popular for decades. But women have never really had the chance to be center stage. They've been the undercard, the sideshow, but this is the first all-female wrestling group, and they deserve to have that center stage.
And now how about this gentleman? He had the impossible task of moving into Vin Scully's chair when Vinny retired. But the Dodgers found a fine replacement for Scully in Joe Davis. Now in his 7th season with the club, Davis has already reached the top of his profession, now handling the play-by-play duties in the upcoming World Series, just like Vin did. On this week's edition of Boys in Blue, here's our Joe Painter Lopez, who chats with Davis about his legendary predecessor and all the success Joe is having these days.
Boys in Blue, sponsored by Capozio Buick GMC.
Lead announcer for Fox for the World Series, as you come up on this great gig that you've been given. What are your thoughts as playoffs are about to start?
Yeah, I've said it a few times, but it's a dream come true, and I know that it's easy to say that, and a lot of times it's hyperbole, but really for me, this is what I've always wanted to do. If you asked me when I was 10 years old, what do you want to do when you grow up, I would have said call the World Series. So I've gotten the taste of doing postseason baseball for the last few years, and there's nothing like it. And now to be able to do the World Series, I'm pinching myself every day leading up to it.
When you were a kid, I imagine you were listening to Vince Scully and Joe Buck. What did that mean to you to listen to them call games?
Yeah, so for me it was, growing up in Michigan, I didn't have a full appreciation for Vin really until I got into broadcasting myself, and that would be In the minor leagues, I do the games. I was in the Central Time Zone, do the games, and then all the post-game stuff you got to do as a minor league broadcaster, update the website, write the game story, all that stuff. I would turn the West Coast broadcasts on, and obviously Vin would be the first one that I would turn on, and master class, and you learn from him every time you turn them on. And then 2016, where I was doing the road games and he was doing the home games, it was part of the job to watch the home games. So I got, again, 81 master classes in how to do the job.
Joe Davis and all her Shizer, so they turn the page to game
Well,
two.
this is your office view every day for 81 home games and then playoffs. What are your thoughts when you look out here every day?
Yeah, it's a reminder every day how lucky I am. And I do remind myself every day I shouldn't need, and nor do I need this backdrop to remind me, but it's a constant reminder that I've got it as good as anybody. And I think that like the best way to what is happiness, what is success, I think it's to be able to say you wouldn't trade your situation, you wouldn't trade your life with anybody. And every time I come here and look out here, I think that's the case.
Last one, with Vin's passing, what will you take from him most as a person and a broadcaster?
Yeah, I think the greatest ever to do the job. He always will be the greatest ever to do the job. You could argue he's the greatest storyteller, period, not just in baseball, but that we've seen in our lifetime. The way that he incorporated those stories and made the players human, I think that there's the human nature is to enjoy storytelling, and I took that from him from a kind of fundamental announcer standpoint. His main advice to me was the same advice Red Barber gave him when he started in 1950, and that was to be himself. He told me, be yourself, and it's simple, but I remind myself all the time. And I didn't know him that well, but as he's passed and we hear so many stories from people that they have about Vin and at his service, hearing his kids talk, my most lasting takeaway, forget all the amazing on-air stuff, is how his family talked about him. Not just the greatest ever to do this job, but an amazing father and grandpa. And I left that service saying, yeah, I love to be half the broadcaster that Vin was, but all I really care about is that at the end they talk about me the way I just heard them talk about him.
He's really, really, really good. And Alan, one of the things that's so impressive about him is he's not trying to be like Vinny. He's just trying to be, like you said, just be yourself.
And how about that advice comes from Ben Scully telling him the piece of advice that he gives Davis is, be you. Trying to be somebody else, and this in this field is just not going to it's not going to be genuine, and it's a joy to listen to him talk, and it's a joy to listen to stories about Vin.
He is a great storyteller, as well as we all know Vinny was the best storyteller. All right, everybody, time now for our final commercial break. But coming up, we're going to have our studs and duds, including yet another wild finish from Appalachian State when we come back right here on CBS 2. Welcome back, everybody. You're going to love this. Time now for our studs and duds, and we will begin in Syracuse for a wild finish against Purdue, that's for sure. We're calling Garrett Schrader right here a stud for the last drive of the game, finding Ronde Gatson right here in the final seconds to lead the Orange to a come-from-behind win. Schrader had 13 touchdown passes, no interception, 3 touchdown passes, no interceptions, and led the team to rushing yardage. And Stafon, that's really incredible what we saw.
That's a incredible play right there. We needed that. They needed that play, so that's probably the best one out of those 3 touchdowns. That's what he needed.
And you could just kind of see some of the things that you've gone through in your own career right there.
Absolutely. You know, not giving up, being able to finish off the game and finish off with a walk-off touchdown is always good.
You better believe it. Now, how about this dud from Missouri? With the Tigers punting, Abilene Christian's Kendall Catalon right here decides to fair catch at the 1-yard line instead of letting it bounce into the end. Allen?
Not exactly his best moment of his college career. Let's just say he didn't fumble it. You get the ball at the 1. I don't know if I've seen that before.
I don't think I have either, but people will say, what was he thinking?
We're still trying to figure it out. What do you think his coach is telling him when he's running back to the sidelines?
What's the blankety blank were you thinking?
Grab that clipboard.
All right, Coach, what would you have said?
Grab that clipboard.
Yeah, grab that clipboard,
yeah. You'll be right here next to me.
Grab that clipboard. All right, finally, about a stud from Appalachian State, down 28-26 in the final seconds. They go for the Hail Mary. Troy tries to knock it down, but Christian Horn right here gets it and takes it into the end zone for the walk-off touchdown. Stafon, what a finish by them.
Like you said the right thing, finish. You have to finish this football game. You have to finish each play. And as you can see, man, they storming the field. That's a bad, that's a hurtful way to lose that game.
Alan, how can you sum it up in a few seconds?
I'll tell you what, that's going to be on every highlight as it is today. What an unbelievable finish.
All right, everybody, with that finish, we right here are finished. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports Central Saturday. And so for Stafon Johnson and Alan Slewa, I'm Jim Hill saying thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time right here on CBS 2. So long, everybody.